Hello, 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 resellers. Thank you for tuning into episode 165 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is May 15th, 2024. My guest today is Abigail, who has so much going on. I don't know how she gets it all done. Quick announcement. Some of you have reached out to ask when the next Homestead Happenings video is coming on YouTube. It is in progress and will be the next video I post. There is so much to report and show you from around the homestead. As always, I want to create a high-quality video, so it takes some time to put it all together. So stay tuned. Homestead Happenings is on the way. Okay, now into the conversation with Abigail.
Welcome back, listeners. We have Abby with us this morning. And how are you doing on this? Was it Thursday?
Sure.
Yeah, good.
It's good to be here.
The days just kind of all blend together into one long day, don't they?
Yeah, I lose track.
And where are you located?
So I'm in South Shore, Massachusetts, about 25 minutes south of Boston, right on the coast.
Oh, so probably some good picking there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff around here.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to get into that. Let's start off with what brought you to eBay and when.
So I have had an eBay account since 2002, which was my senior year in high school. And I was just looking back and I had bought a few things, nothing crazy. I wasn't that active. And then I do remember I sold one thing in 2002. Just I don't even know why or how this happened, but I had this random spice rack and I put it up for auction and it sold for like $42 or something back in the day. And I just remember being really excited by that, and then life getting in the way, completely forgetting about eBay. And then in May of 2021, I ended up having to go on medical leave for a brief time from my job. And during this time is when I started, I was just a little bit bored, to be honest. I had young kids, but I needed something else while I was taking some time off of work. And so I ended up getting into some online auctions and then purchasing with the intent to sell on eBay and having some success with that. And it was fun.
Great. Well, that reason, medical leave or recovering from surgery or that type of situation is a common theme with what brought people to eBay, because it is boring when you have to stay at home and recover, and it's like your whole world's like turned upside down. Nothing's normal. Yeah. So it gives you something kind of fun to focus on, and good for you for finding things online. Do you still do that, or do you go out into the world?
Yeah, so mostly I've done some thrift stores, but to be honest, I find most of my stuff, there's a lot of local online auctions in this area. I don't know if you heard of Max Sold. They're pretty popular around here. And so up until about mid 2023, and I can kind of talk about what I do now, but that was where I would source most of my things, was on these online auctions. What I liked about them is they would post all of the pictures and everything about a week in advance. And so you could look through the pictures, and what I would do is like zoom in and, Google Lens and try and see what was in the background that other people might not have noticed, and get a lot of stuff that way. And then I would inevitably underestimate how many car trips it would take, but I would go and pick up all the items. But that was fun. I'm not really a good in-person haggler. I find it really awkward. So I like the online auctions because you bid what you bid, you set the price, and you don't have to go back and forth with anyone. So that kind of attracted me to the online auctions. It was something that I could do comfortably without feeling bad about trying to lowball someone or anything like that.
And so that was back in when you first started?
Yeah, May 2021 was my first auction.
Okay.
The very first one I did, I don't tend to do things halfway. I kind of went all in. It was this the owner of the auction, or the person who was selling the items, it was somebody who had formerly owned a tennis club or a gym or something. They had a lot of new old stock gym equipment and tennis rackets and old tennis bags and things like that. So I ended up just buying a ton of it. I have an interest. I play tennis, so I knew about that stuff. And so I ended up buying several of the lots in it. And I spent about $1,800, which was kind of a risk for my first time going in.
Yeah.
But I figured out eBay. I cringe now to think of all the pictures I took of like a tennis racket on my couch, and I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, I ended up selling all that stuff and sold it all for over $7,000. It was just like, it was a lot of work, but it was a good learning curve. I sold a ton of stuff in a short time. And even including, my husband helped me ship this giant tennis ball machine that, like automatically feeds tennis balls. And that thing weighed probably 70 pounds. And I think we had to ship it to California. So that was something to learn about the first time through.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very ingenious. And it's not a coincidence, but I've started doing that a little bit where I'm living now, because it's so rural. And there are thrift stores around, but they're so far.
Yeah.
And it's like, what can I do when I'm just, have an hour here or there to find stuff to sell? And so I'm kind of playing around with that right now. And I do love the convenience of it. And you can have one window open with the auctions you're looking at, and the other window on your computer on Terapeak, looking stuff up. And I'm also learning a lot about what sells, because you're seeing things that you would not see at thrift stores or garage sales. It's different. And what I've noticed here is, it looks like an estate sale, but like they don't have the in-person estate sale. It's only the online, and you can just tell they've gone around that person's house, and it's like, lot 14, everything on this shelf.
Yes.
Lot 16, all these tools, and you can really zoom in on the pictures, and you might see one or two things that's a win, but you got to buy the whole lot, and drop by the dumpster on the way home and just throw away what you don't want. But so you are a mom, and how old are your kids?
Yep, I have 3 kids. They're 7, 5, and 3. 2 boys, 2 girls, and my youngest is a boy. My job is, I'm a veterinarian.
Okay, yeah, you have a very busy life, so you figured out how to fit eBay into that. So that's really, really admirable. So your kids are really at the age where they need a mom all the time.
My work schedule is interesting. So I just I went on and studied after veterinary school. I did a residency in surgery. So I just do emergency and trauma surgery. So my hours are off hours. I work nights, like I'll be on call for 14 nights a month. So I just basically sleep with my phone under my pillow, and if I get called in, then great. I go in, do surgery, come home, and that way I'm able to be with the kids during the day. Some days more tired than others, but my husband works from home, and he's got a flexible schedule. So a lot of times I'll just come home and nap if I need to, if I don't get home till 5 a.m.
Oh, I love that. Good for you. So is your husband on board with all of this eBay stuff? Does he help?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Money is all around us, and we think about it more than almost every other aspect of our lives. But how can we make more of it, and what's our drive for building wealth beyond just the numbers in our bank account? Join us on the Make More podcast as our host Matt Heslin brings to you a dynamic lineup of experts in the world of investing, business, health, and beyond. Together, they unpack the secrets to not just surviving, but thriving in today's economy. It's about more than just wealth. It's about crafting life experiences, seizing opportunities, and building a legacy. Subscribe now to the Make More with Matt Heslin podcast and join us every week for new expert insights and inspiration.
So he is, to an extent, he's very supportive. There's minimal complaints when I clutter up the house with a big auction lot or something like that. He helps me ship any of the heavy stuff he'll drop off. And he's certainly gone and done a few of the pickups for me when it's been a lot of heavy stuff or my schedule doesn't allow it. But from a eBay selling perspective, he's not that. He sold a couple things himself. He has his own account, but he is not super involved in the day-to-day selling.
Well, that's great. He's your support person, and
Yeah, he
can
is very supportive about
help
it.
you so that you can do that work, and you've got, a dependable person to. I was a single mom, so I had to just kind of fit it all in around when the kids were at school. And well, I didn't start till my kids were 6 and 8. So they were in school.
Yeah.
But that makes all the difference in the world to have a supportive partner. You're generating income for the household. So, hey, watch the kids, take the kids to get ice cream while I do this.
Exactly.
Good for you. Okay. So let's talk about some things you've sold, because you are a super prepared guest and you have a list of things. So let's just start going through them.
Sure. I can start with some of my earlier stuff from 2021 and 2022, and I was still kind of figuring things out. Most of these came from those online auctions. The second online auction I did, I was all excited after the tennis win. And so I ran across this auction lot that was this Oratone photo. Have you ever heard of that? It's this way that they could develop photography. I think it was back in like the 1940s or something. There was this artist, Edward Curtis, the photographer, and he took these pictures. A lot of them were of Yosemite, and it's called gold Oratone was the style that they developed it in. Basically, it's like a gold tint photo. But that was something that I came across, and from my research, it appeared to be pretty valuable. So I ended up buying that, and then getting in touch with a collector of Oratone out in Washington State. And so I was able to sell that to him and actually bypass eBay in that case, which was nice. Sometimes it's nice if you can go directly to someone that you know is a potential buyer.
Absolutely, yeah.
The fees. So that was a good one. I think I paid $160 for it. I didn't really know what I was doing. I got lucky. And then he bought it for I think just over $900 plus shipping. So that was
wow, excellent.
Really exciting. I was really catching the bug at this point.
Yeah. Okay. And where again did you find that photo?
It was on one of those Max Sold auctions.
Okay. And do you remember what you paid?
Yeah, it was $160.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
And that's, some people are a little nervous to pay that much for something, but you have to look at what's the possible profit. And once you do it a few times, if you're used to paying $1 for everything, or going to the Goodwill outlet and not paying very much for things, and then something big comes up. Yeah, that's a big leap if you're not used to paying that much.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
One of the cheaper things that I bought, and I understand after I bought it why no one else had bid on this, was one of these chair lifts, that go up the stairs for people who aren't able, like low mobility, to try and get up the stairs. There was one of these in an auction lot, and I was like, oh, why not? I'll just bid on it. So I bid $2. No one else bid on it. So I had to drive over and load this thing in the car, and it weighed a ton. Luckily, the guy had disassembled it for me. But when that sold, which it sold for a great profit, it was worth it, but it was a nightmare to ship because it has the long pieces that go up the stairs, plus the motor, which weighed a ton, and the chair. And I do remember spending about a whole evening with my husband trying to Frankenstein some boxes and ship that. And that was just, it was maybe the I don't know, 30th thing I'd ever shipped in my life. And it was that was a challenge. But yeah.
But you did it.
Yeah,
And
did it. And it made it there safely.
yeah, good for you. Okay. What else is on your list?
So some of the other things, I've heard people talk about recipes. You've done some
Yes. Yes.
of your guests have talked about recipes before.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had been on the lookout for those, not actively looking, but if I bumped into someone selling recipes. And so I did actually, someone reached out. They had posted on Facebook Marketplace, just, free recipes. I'm moving, can't take these with me. And so I met her at a Target parking lot. She turns out she was selling them, or she was giving them away because she lives in Alaska, and she was moving her mom out of where her mom was living, and they had belonged to her mom. And she was like, I've already taken as many as I could, and I don't need these, here, have them. They're going to go in a dumpster otherwise. So that was pretty cool. I didn't know how many I was getting until she opened her car, and there were just probably, I don't know, 6,000 index cards with handwritten recipes. Like, I don't know how someone in their lifetime could even write that many index card recipes.
Well, and because you said, oh, she's moving, she can't take them with you. And I'm envisioning like this little recipe box, like,
Right.
wow, she must really be downsizing everything.
Right.
But no, that's a lot, whole carload.
It was crazy. And so it turned out, I got the story from her. Her mom had a local TV show, cooking show called Marguerite's
Oh,
Kitchen that was just on the local channels in my area. And so she was a little bit of a local celebrity back when the show aired, which was a while ago. And so as a result, she had just so many recipes. This was her life's work. And so I'm not much of a cook. I wish I was, but I'm not. So I just figured the best I could do would be to find good homes for them with somebody who would want them. So I started listing them in lots on eBay. And to be honest, I was very overwhelmed because there were so many of them. I would lot them up as, 200 chicken entrees or whatever. She had them pretty well organized.
okay.
And they were slowly selling off bit by bit. And then I had this one buyer who, as soon as I'd post them, she'd start buying them up, and she'd buy all the lots, and I would discount the shipping and everything. And I was just, I finally reached out to her and I said, oh, it looks like you are really interested in these. I have a ton more, like literally a ton of them. How are you looking for anything in particular? I can make you a custom lot. And she was like, oh, how many do you have? I'll take them all. And I said, okay. So I ended up making her a custom listing, and she bought all of the recipe cards that I had, which was like over 6,000 recipe cards from this local celebrity chef. And so it was such a surprising sale to me. This woman was so excited to get them. She said she bought them for herself for her birthday. And yeah, it's amazing.
Did you keep track of how much you made on that sale, or of all the rest?
Yes. So I did. I just looked back. The lot that she bought, she paid $1,200 for. And before that, the ones that I had been selling, not just to her, but to other people, I think it came out to, let me see, like $882. So all said and done, it was something that would have ended up in the dumpster from this celebrity chef.
I love that. And yeah, it probably took a long time to get them listed. Well, at first, because you ended up lotting them together, but pretty easy. pretty easy to ship.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Very easy to ship.
not going to break. It's very unique. Like
Yeah.
probably didn't have any competition on those.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I've now learned is when you do have a collection of things and you're piecing them out, if you see the same buyers that are grabbing them, just send them a message and say, offer them a custom listing, because then it saves a lot of, I can't imagine, I would still be sorting through recipe cards. That was, 2 years ago, and I would still be going through them, no doubt. So I was
How
happy.
much space did that take up when you brought them home? Like how much
Oh,
space is it?
it was, I mean, they're index cards. So although there were about 6,000 or more, it was, those little filing cabinets that are index card size, like the long
Right.
ones. I think there was 13 of those. So it was more than I had expected, but it's still fairly compact. It didn't take up too much room, luckily.
Right. Didn't take up a whole room. That's
No.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love that. That's a great story.
That was a good
And
one.
one more time, how did you come upon that?
She had posted them on Facebook Marketplace, just free,
Okay.
Save these from the dumpster.
And you didn't even pay for them.
Didn't even pay for them. I know. I tried to offer her money in the parking lot when she was giving them to me. I said, "Can I give you something for these?" And she said, "No, I can't take them. I've already taken a couple boxes of them." So
We'll be back after a quick break.
Moving is right up there with death and divorce in the stress Olympics. But fear not. Turn that box of woes into a crate of woes with moving tips in the Life Beyond Boxes podcast with Premium Q Moving. Dive into the world of hassle-free moves, learn tips and tricks to save on cash and your sanity. Say goodbye to those moving meltdowns and hello to the smooth sailings, or should we say smooth movings? Tune into Life Beyond Boxes with Premium Q Moving on lifebeyondboxes.com or find us on your favorite podcast platform, and with us, unpack the secrets to a stress-free move.
All right. I love that. Well, what's next on the list?
let's see. Some of the other, I guess this sort of is a little bit similar. It's another free item that turned out to be a lot of work, but very profitable. Was I love to sell this type of stuff. It was this dollhouse, amazing dollhouse with the lights that worked. Somebody put in just incredible craftsmanship. So somebody had listed this on Facebook. It was an older gentleman. He was moving down to Florida. It was his wife's who had passed. And she was a avid dollhouse person. She really decked out this dollhouse with really nice furniture and dolls and all these expensive items. Not a child's dollhouse. And so initially he had it listed for several $100s, and I was just interested in it in general, but the pictures that he had posted, I couldn't really even tell what the dollhouse looked like. I knew it was probably nice because he had listed it for so much, but the pictures weren't great. So I just messaged him asking him for a little more information and some more pictures. And he never really got back to me, and I forgot about it. And then a couple months later, when you've messaged someone on a listing, when there's a change to the listing, it kind of pops up in your feed, refreshes it for you. I don't know if you know what I mean. And so all of a sudden I noticed that he had changed the price to 0. And so I was like, oh, I'll message him again. So I messaged him and I said, oh, just wondering if this is still available. I saw that, you changed the price. I'm interested if you still have this. And he said, yeah, if you can come pick it up right now. I'm moving, it needs to be gone. I said, okay. So I still didn't have any more pictures, didn't really know what I was getting at that point. And it was a bit of a drive. I drove about 45 minutes to get it. And it was large, and he was literally walking out the door of his house. The realtor helped me load it into the car. It was one of those, I don't know what he would have done if I hadn't just gone and driven it over and gotten it. I probably would have ended up on the side of the road. So I got this beautiful dollhouse with this huge collection of items that go with it. And then I ended up coming home and I listed the dollhouse separately. I can't remember the artisan's name, but it was signed on a plaque there. and I listed it for $450, just because it was such a beautiful dollhouse. And looking them up, it looked like this guy had made some really nice ones that sold for, lots of, like, thousands of dollars. And then I had some interest, and then this guy with the same last name as the artisan reached out to me, and he said, "Oh, my dad made this. I would love to buy this for my granddaughter, or for his dad's granddaughter, his daughter." And I was like, "Oh, just take it. Like, I got it for free. It belongs to you." And so the guy came and he remembered everything about that dollhouse. He had helped build it when he was a child. He remembered the thing was huge. He said that he remembered having to take out a window in their house after it was built to get the dollhouse out of the house because it didn't fit or something, through their door. They had a weird angle in the hallway. So it was really neat that dollhouse ended up going back to this person, and he didn't take any of the accessories. So I ended up then selling off the accessories, which was a little bit tedious because there were a lot of them. But anytime it would get to be too much, I would just put them in a lot and put them as an auction. But that was really neat. It was nice to see that dollhouse go back to the family that made it.
Yeah, rehoming at its best, more like the boomerang item. Went right back to where it came from.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fun sale, or
Yeah.
multiple sales.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, I still have dollhouse stuff. I'm constantly putting sales on my eBay store for, like, just the dollhouse items, get it out. I get kind of sick of having one thing in the house for too long. I try and give it a term limit, but
yeah, but I mean, all that little stuff, like, well, American Girl doll stuff, people pretty much know about that, but just the clothing and the accessories, and there's a market for all that itty bitty stuff.
Yeah, there's so I learned a lot about dollhouse items. If there's signed pieces, there's artisans that are well known and they'll sign their pieces. And this woman had a lot of that. I mean, even just the accessories alone, I think sold for, still selling, but I can't even tell you how many there were. There are so many. It's like blew my mind. But yeah, there was pieces would sell for $200 for this doll and $100 for this couch, and it added up. And so that was another free to, several $1,000s in sales, which was really nice.
And saving it from the landfill. Good for
exactly. You. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I love
You gotta be willing to go at the drop of a hat.
That's true. You're so industrious, though, but you do have to grab them before it's too late, because a lot of times people will just put stuff up, Facebook Marketplace, whatever, or these buy and sell groups, and like, if it's not gone in 2 days, they just get rid of it. It's like they're moving, or they're just ready to clean out, or whatever the situation is. And it's like, you snooze, you lose. You better get it. Yeah. Okay. What's the next item?
Let's see. So next one is probably the strangest thing I've ever sold. It was bizarre. So it's an incinerator toilet, if you've ever heard of it.
Oh my God. Okay.
For people who live off the grid. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's all these channels on YouTube, like van life and living in any kind of vehicle that's been converted to something you can live in, and they go on about what kind of toilet they have. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So it was I wouldn't have bought it had it not been new in the box, so it was still in its package. And it was at one of those Max sold auctions, sure enough. And I was researching it beforehand, and I was fairly certain that these are something that would sell pretty quickly. There weren't many listed. They were sold out on the website, or back ordered, I think, for several months. So I figured it would probably be a safe bet since it was new in package. And sure enough, it sold almost right away. Within 24 hours, it sold to someone in Tennessee, and I shipped it off, and I guess they're living off their grid with their incinerator toilet.
Or maybe they do trips or,
Right.
vacations, and you never know. Sometimes that's just an additional thing to
Yeah.
having a regular home somewhere, but that's a huge industry right now.
Yeah.
And they redo the insides, and it looks like a home in there. They have all these cool things that convert to different, the table, and then it flips over and it's a bed, and all these cute string lights, and but now there's like an industry for that makes products for off grid, or living
Yeah.
in a camper vehicle, whatever it is. So
Those like
I'm
mini
just yeah, I watch those on reels, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at, they made this into that, and I would totally live in that, or at least travel in it.
Yeah. Might get a little claustrophobic after a while, but
Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, how many items do you have listed? Or do you have a store?
Yeah, I do have a store. I think I have about 350 around there. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you sell things every day?
Yes, I do. I usually have anywhere between, I don't know, 3 to 9 items a day going out the door, hopefully. I try and price things kind of low, and I like to get them turned over as fast as possible. It's kind of funny because I really don't like clutter, but I feel like I end up with a lot of clutter, other people's clutter.
Yes, yes. I think a lot of us are in that boat. Like, I personally am more of a minimalist. I just don't like a lot of stuff, but then there's the eBay room,
Hmm.
and I still have a hesitation of like having thousands of items. That
Yeah.
makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it stresses me out to look around, especially when it's not even listed yet. That really gets me. I need to get going. Um,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So do you have any other items you want to talk about?
yeah, I could talk about sort of what I've been doing a little bit differently in the past like 12 months. So mid
Mhm.
2023, started to notice that the online auctions that were kind of my main source were drying up. Not that there weren't auctions anymore, but for some reason I just wasn't. I don't know if there's just more people bidding on them or what, but things were getting bid up, and the things that I used to see in the background that no one else would see, everybody now was seeing. So I just wasn't having as much luck finding things in these auctions. So um, I decided to try and pivot, try new things. I started getting into more furniture type stuff, which is cool, but large. What I like about it is a lot of times you can get things pretty cheap, and then one sale could be a lot of profit versus, selling a lot of $20 items. You could sell these nicer items for a lot more money. So I was trying with that. I'm lucky in that my parents live not too far down the street, and they've got a large empty basement that they've been generous enough to let me store some things in. Um, so one of the items that I found, this woman was selling these chairs for a church, and she put up this listing of just some pictures of the front of these chairs. And I don't even know why I clicked on the listing, because I wasn't. She had, I don't know, 44 chairs or something. I was like, what am I going to do with that? But she had them for
Right.
$10 a chair. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'll just Google Lens it. And so I Google Lensed it, and they turned out to be these chairs called Maguire Target back chairs. Um, which I didn't know anything about at the time. But I was looking them up, and they sell for a lot of money on these websites like Cherish. Um, they sell for, $500 a chair. So I contacted her and I said, I'm interested in taking all your chairs. She was only selling them as a group. I was like, well, all right, let's get the U-Haul. So this is my husband jumped in with the U-Haul, and we drove about an hour, filled the U-Haul up with these chairs. They weren't in the best condition. There were some stains and some damage, mostly to the upholstery. They were sturdy. And I brought them back, loaded. My parents were away at the time, so I loaded them right into their basement, and figured I'd ask for forgiveness later.
Right.
And yeah, so then, and I had these, was doing more research on them, and I was like, yeah, I think these are the real deal. Like these should, a $10 a chair, like it's still a fairly big commitment plus the U-Haul, but I think that they'll sell. And then the next day she actually messaged me and said, I have 28 more in an attic. You can take them for free. Can you come get them? And I was like, all right, in for a penny, in for a pound, might as well.
Right.
We got another U-Haul and went out and got those. So we ended up with, I think, 72 of these McGuire chairs. And it took me a while to figure out how to sell them, being that they're not in the best condition, but there's a big market for them. There's a lot of people that are really know this brand and are loyal to it or want these chairs. So the first person that came and bought 10 of them was another reseller. And so I was just happy to get rid of some of them and make some money. I didn't pay a lot for them. And so he bought 10 chairs for $90 a chair. So already made the money back. And I basically was picking his brain, like, so what are you going to do with these? Where are you selling these? And he was telling me how he sells on Cherish. Have you heard of that website?
I have not.
So it's like eBay, but more high-end furniture specific. It's a lot of interior designers will shop on there to fill their clients' homes and things like that. So he said that he sells a ton of stuff. Like his whole model is buying and selling these high-end items. And then he sells them on Cherish. And so I kind of stalked his Cherish store a little bit to see if my chairs were selling for him on there. And sure enough, he was selling them for, $500 for a pair of them. I was like, all right, well, if he can do it, I could do it too. So I've been listing them on Cherish and yeah, and like I said, they're not in the best condition, so I wasn't super strict with the price, but they sell between $100 and $200 a chair, and I'm down to 5 chairs out of 72. So
Oh my gosh.
happy that I'm clearing out the basement. But it was a process. It took months and months. And then since I was already on Cherish, I started saying, oh, I'll see what other types of items I can find that I could list there. And I came across this woman moving out of her house who had all these items from the Fairmont Copley Hotel in Boston.
Oh.
Very nice hotel in Boston. And the story was that her ex-husband worked there during the renovation. They had like a centennial renovation in, I don't know, 2012 maybe. And they auctioned off a lot of their stuff while they were renovating. And so the people that worked there got first dibs on things. And so her house was completely furnished with Copley Plaza stuff, which was beautiful. And they had a messy divorce and he left and she was moving, didn't want any of the stuff. So she was selling everything very cheaply and just wanted it gone. So again, got my husband in the U-Haul and we went out there and loaded up, on lots of stuff. It was tables and lamps. And if you look at some of the famous Copley Plaza pictures, there's this beautiful gold medallion rug. And that was, I think there are multiple of them around the lobby. But so I ended up with one of the smaller ones that she sold me for $100. The thing was so heavy. It was unbearably heavy. But we figured it out, got it in the U-Haul, took it all home, and that stuff, it was art off the walls and just amazing stuff. And that sold quite well for me on Cherish. Some I sold locally. So yeah, it was interesting to branch out into that type of stuff. If I didn't have a place to keep it, my parents' basement, I don't know that I could do a lot of that furniture stuff because it does take up a lot of room. But it is nice when you have just, one sale and it's several $100s versus selling a lot of smaller things. Mm-hmm. So in that way, it's a little bit easier, but but the work that goes into moving it and cleaning it, and some of it I had to deliver, and I think it all balances out. There's no there's no easy way to do this.
Well, and you seem to be willing to do anything. So
Yeah.
I kind of look at my business sometimes, and I'll be washing stuffed animals or that kind of thing, and I'm like, yep, this is why I went to college, so I could do this. But it's really, no, you're running a business, and you're using your ingenuity to figure out ways to make money. So how long does it take to get through veterinarian school?
So it's 4 years of vet school after college, and then if you want to specialize like I did, you'd go on, and I did a 1-year internship and then a 3-year residency.
And what do you specialize in?
In surgery.
Oh, surgery. Okay, so 8 years of college, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really have invested a lot in that. Does that ever cross your mind when you're like taking pictures of dollhouse furniture? Yeah. This
Yes.
is why I went to college for 8 years, so I could take pictures of this dollhouse furniture.
Yeah. It's really fun for me in a different way. My job is very stressful. It's a lot of life or death situations, middle of the night, blood transfusions, and all different departments coming into the OR while I'm doing surgery, and it's stressful. It's extremely rewarding, and I love it. And I love animals. But this is just some totally other part of my life that is fun and also profitable. Like it's nice to have this kind of unexpected money come in to do trips and whatever. And it's honestly, I like the learning about different things, just the number of weird area, 1970s GI Joes. I like, when would I have ever known anything about that? And now I could tell you a lot about it. It's just, I think
Right.
that's one of the fun parts about this, is it's just this whole other aspect to my life that they don't really mix, but they each fill me up in different ways.
And yeah, it seems like your vet job would be very stressful, because not only you care about the animal, but you also have to deal with the owner of the animal, and they're upset and emotional, and it's a hard thing for them. So you've got, two situations to deal with. And animals can't talk. They can't tell you what's wrong. It's like a toddler, like, why are you crying? They can't tell you. So I had a vet on here a few years ago in West Virginia, and he was ready to get out of it, just because I think he was a large animal vet, but it was so stressful.
There's a lot of burnout in our profession, like a
Mhm.
lot. Vets actually have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession. I've lost classmates to suicide. It's a very real thing. And a lot of it does come down to the people that tend to become veterinarians love animals, are very compassionate type of people. And then you put them in this situation where they have tools to help some of these animals, but the finances aren't there on the other end. And at the end of the day, like, it is a business, and we have to pay our staff. We have to buy the supplies, and, we use the same CAT scan machine that human medicine uses. We do a lot of the same training. Things are very expensive, and with inflation and the economy, it's a tough time to be a vet, and a medical professional in general. There's a lot of burnout for sure in the profession. It can be hard. So that's another reason why I just really like having this side, that it's just a lot.
Yeah, something a little easier and fun, more like a hobby that makes money.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you. Now, do you earmark your eBay money for certain things, or does it just go into the general household fund?
I don't strictly do it, but it definitely, it'll kind of tip the scales when we're thinking. We just took the kids to Disney and in February. And it just is a little bit easier to do things like that when you know that this money is, kind of extra money. It's working for it, but it's not part of my normal job money. And, it helps when we just got a newish car, a new used car, and it is a total lemon. And we've been dealing with so many issues with it.
No.
It helps with the stress of that, just all those unexpected things. It's nice to have this extra income.
Yeah, good for you. Okay, you have a couple more items to talk about?
Yeah, let me see. Oh, so one of the new things that I've started doing, one of my goals for 2024 was to try a storage locker auction.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't really done any of those before, and like I said, I'm always trying to find new ways to source. The online auctions just haven't been great for me lately. I don't have great thrift stores right near me. So anyway, I figured I'd try it. And so the first one I did, I got a little carried away. I got into a bidding war. And what I saw in there was this vintage Louis Vuitton trunk that's about 100 and something years old, 120 years old. It's this beautiful steamer trunk, the kind that they used to put on trains when people would travel. And so I was bidding against someone else who clearly wanted this also. And I ended up winning it, but I immediately was like, oh my God, what did I do? I paid over $5,000 for this in my very first storage locker. And I was like,
Oh,
okay.
no.
And so I go, and I didn't know what to expect. I go, and it is hard and very dirty work. You're kind of dealing with like mouse droppings and dusty, and it's, this storage locker, it looked like it had been packed up in the 70s and never touched since. So I ended up getting the Louis Vuitton trunk out of there. I got everything out of there. There was a lot of old wedding presents from the 70s that had never even been opened. Like they still had the cards in them and everything. So, so I did sell the Louis Vuitton trunk, and I sold it to someone locally who had reached out on eBay, but I noticed that they had a local address and their thrift store name is part of their address. So I was like, why don't I just go out on a limb and see if so there's a lot of details with when you're selling like a really expensive old item that I didn't want to necessarily end up with a return or something like that. So I was like, let me just see if I can get in touch with them in a different way. And so I ended up getting in touch with them outside of eBay, which, I'm not condoning that, but it just happened that they were local. And their name made it very obvious where they were. So we worked out a deal. I delivered it to them. They were buying it. They were the middleman. They were buying it for somebody who they're shipping it to Italy to completely refurbish it. And I guess once it's refurbished, they sell for like coffee tables as like $36,000 or something insane.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, insane. So I got my piece, and they're gonna get theirs, and everybody's happy. So it was nice because the eBay fees on that would have been, a couple $1,000s. So
yeah, that would have been. Well, I think they max out at a certain point.
Yeah, up to 7,500. They take a specific amount, and then after that, I think it's only an additional like 2.6% or something.
Mm-hmm.
I did look into it when I was trying to negotiate prices with this person.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow. So you have no fear of the larger items.
I think that you have to kind of trust your gut with. If you know something's profitable, it might be worth paying up on it because, I don't know. Yeah.
I guess you always go back to, can I sell it for what I paid for it?
Yes.
So that, if you put time into listing it, that's time you can never get back that you might not be paid for.
Mm.
But if you can get at least what you paid for it, then you haven't lost anything and you learn something.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So I think that and then even so aside from that, where I was able to double my money just with that one item, and then there was more stuff in there that was really cool that I had no idea. You can't tell in the pictures what's going to be in all these closed boxes. So I got pretty lucky with some of that stuff too. They had lots of collectibles and china and all kinds of stuff in there. So that was my first storage locker. And so I went back for more after that. I've done 4 now. 2 of them were kind of duds, a lot of work with not a huge amount of gain. But then the third one that I did, it's really interesting story, I think. The locker that I purchased ended up belonged to the stepson of the former Boston mayor, James Curley, who is a notorious figure in the Massachusetts history. He was 4-time mayor of Boston, 1-time Massachusetts governor. He actually was put into federal prison while a mayor. And the person who put him in prison was my great-grandfather. My great
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was just really funny that I ended up with all this James Curley memorabilia. There's like keys to the city of Boston in there because he was the mayor. And he was definitely a celebrity in the 30s and 40s. So there's people out there who really collect his stuff. And yeah, there's pictures of him with like FDR and things that are letters between him and JFK. And it's just fascinating, the stuff in this locker. I don't even know where to begin with selling half of it, but it's just really interesting. I've had so much fun going through it and learning about the history.
Well, it sounds like it. I could tell your vibe and your energy changed when you started talking about that. It's exciting to you, and that's what keeps us going every day is you're interested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's something outside of your normal job and being a mom and being a wife and taking care of the house. And it's just something fun to dig into. And when I'm in that situation, it's like the time passes and I don't even realize it. You're just, oh my gosh, I've been digging through this stuff for 2 hours. I better go do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that I don't have a lot of people to talk about eBay stuff with. My family is it just isn't really their thing. But this was the one storage locker that my dad like came over and wanted to go through all the stuff because it was his grandfather and who had the history with James Curley, and just he's a big history buff. So it was just really fun. We just really got into everything related to James Curley, and that was fascinating. It's just the learning process of everything is if you're selling stuff that's interesting to you, that's even more exciting.
Right. Yeah. It keeps you focused. Okay. Well, we've been going almost an hour. Did you want to answer one of the questions at the end?
Sure. Yeah, I'm most of the reading that I do is audiobooks because I'm in the car a lot. But the book that I'm reading right now, about halfway through. It's called None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I don't know, it's kind of like a mystery thriller. It's one of the characters is a podcaster, which is interesting, but that's what I'm reading right now. It's pretty good so far.
Yeah, I love audiobooks or podcasts, whatever, you can multitask and listen to it while you're cooking or driving or whatever, and keeps you sharp. And who has time to read these days, really?
I know. I wish I had 5 minutes to sit down with a book.
Before the internet, I read all the time.
Yeah.
That was my nightly thing to do, was read. And now I'm just, technology is distracting. You got to really make time for it. But a mom of 3, working a full-time job, a husband, a house, like you don't have time for that. You're in survival mode right now. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for making time to come on the podcast and talk about your very interesting business. I've learned a lot. I didn't know about these sites, or I just love doing these podcasts because I always learn stuff and get to meet resellers. And like you said, most people, they kind of just glaze over when you start talking about eBay because they don't get it. So that's what this podcast is about, is like our little community, and we get it. So what are you up to today?
That's a good question. My kids are one of them gets home from school shortly, and then yeah, not a whole lot going on today, just hopefully listing some stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure you'll get more done than most people do in an hour. That's what I say in the morning. It's like I get more done in the first 3 hours of my day than most people get done all week. So I'm not going to beat myself up. So, okay. Well, thanks again. And we'll look for your sales on the Facebook group.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, and now for today's trivia question. It's more of an educational question. Abigail mentioned selling on Cherish, which is spelled Chairish. When did the site start, and what can you sell there? Here's a few seconds to think about it. Okay, founded in 2013, Cherish is the leading online emporium where designers and tastemakers shop for exceptional home furnishings and art. From their website, it says, Cherish is the design world's ultimate destination for home furnishings and art. It is beloved by interior designers and tastemakers who come for the rare, vintage, antique, and contemporary pieces, and stay for, well, lots more of that, with 2,000 expertly edited items added daily. Every month, millions of shoppers strike gold, or lacquer, or marble, or ornately carved wood on Cherish, a platform where buying and selling is smoother, more sustainable, and unexpectedly intimate, and always, always delightful. What can you sell there? Furniture, art, lighting, decor, tabletop and barware, bed and bath items, rugs, and outdoor. So, if this interests you, just do a Google search for how to sell on Cherish. Again, it's spelled Chairish, and you can find out more. I personally love learning about other sites to sell on since not everything is suitable for eBay. Next week, my guest is Lynn, who is a former teacher and has some fun stories to tell. So come on back for that episode. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast, and I hope you have an outstanding week on eBay. Bye, everybody.